Welcome back. We have effectively hit record again, and we are starting a new season. This is season 23. Wow, that's just, I remember when we were at episode 23, and it was like, wow, we're going to get to 25 with this sucker. And now we're just like cranking along. This season, we decided quite a while back, as we've noted throughout, and you guys even got some bonus material along the way, is that we want to do building better developers. We want to focus on things that can help you, things that are like some ways to become a better developer. And I think our goal is going to be with each episode, we're going to try to get something that's some sort of action item or something like that. I don't know what we're going to do with this one. I think probably I'm going to come up with something that's going to be like a sort of a quicker, shorter one. But moving forward, I think that's almost going to be, I think we can almost have like a template type of format of basically saying, hey, here's the skill or whatever that we're going to look at, the focus that we want to have for this episode, talk about it a little bit, talk about maybe like how we work with that skill, but maybe some tools that we found related to it, and then be some sort of a challenge that I think, honestly, I think most of these we want to challenge ourselves as well, because it may even be something, even if it's something that we're doing, it's just to make sure that we continue doing that for the next, whatever it is, 7 or 10 days. And I think that's probably what I think would make the most sense is to pick maybe like for the next 7 days. That's just like, maybe that's each time we're going to come out of it is we're going to say, hey, for the next 7 days, give this a shot, assuming that it may, it's a daily thing. And I think we can probably make that happen. And it may be stuff that's a little bit different, because I'm thinking of things as like, I'm looking over here is like getting things done, the GTD approach to stuff, and sort of like, looking at some of those things. So there may be some of these theories and philosophies and stuff like that we're not going to totally embrace, but I think it's stuff that we should go back to, each of us. Like I think of, your favorite word, because you never can get it right, but the Pomodoro technique is maybe go back and say, okay, for a week, let's, for your work week, let's do some Pomodoros. Go out there and use that approach and see how that works. Even if you've done it before, because we have, step back into it for a little bit and see how that goes. And we would love to get feedback on this kind of stuff as well, because I think there's going to be some of these things that we're going to be like, I don't know if that's going to work or not. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe it works for us and not you, or vice versa, or, you do, but your buddy doesn't, or whatever it is, however that works. So I think we'll just kick it off, and I'll just vamp and rant because that's what I do best. And we'll talk about going into this season. Does
So
that
I
make
think
sense?
I think you touched on what the season should be. Let's just call it getting things done.
No, because we do getting things, because it's actually like that's like it's probably almost trademark. So if you do getting
Oh,
things done and the GTD, and that is like, I don't want to like step on that, because it's really not, it's really more than that.
action items or
No, it's like, I think it really is. It's like it's building better developers, but it's we did the journey last time, the developer journey, and this is maybe
we did behind the scenes before that, which was basically building better developers. Was
maybe this is building better habits. Maybe that's the season.
I like that.
Is
I
that
like,
I think then we can sort of steal our own name, and we can sort of focus on that for a while, and then we'll see where it goes, because we have a season 24 somewhere up there too. We got to figure out what our next season is going to be, but let's tackle it one season at a time. All right. So building better habit. That sounds like, yeah. And we can bring that up. All right. Well, hello and welcome back. Welcome to season 23 of the Building Better Developers podcast, also known as Developreneur. Actually, it was Developreneur first, but I digress. I'm not going to digress by saying I am Rob Broadhead. I'm one of the founders and one of the hosts of the show. Obviously, I guess one of the hosts. That's probably like needless to say, and also a founder of RB Consulting, where we don't do podcasts. We actually, I guess we do blogs, we do newsletters and stuff like that, but you're not going to see my pretty face unless you're a customer. And usually you don't want to, because that means that you've already run into a situation where you've got technology issues. Your stuff got out of hand. You don't know what you've got. You don't know where you're going. You may question the team that you've got right now. Those kinds of things that are technology pain points. That is what happens when you have technology sprawl, whether, you're just as we talked about last season, where you're not getting your documentation together, you really don't know what you have. We come in and help you out. We can assess stuff. We do, and we find a way to make it easier for you through simplification, automation, and integration. Is like take that big mess of stuff, clean it all up, make it work together, polish everything up, give you some documentation and a sort of a map of like you are here, and let's talk about where you want to go. So that's RB Consulting. That's what we do. Reach out anytime. Good thing, bad thing. Moving on through this. So I'm going to go with we'll go with like the family kind of stuff. Is that we have got I've got a I get confused on something. I guess it would be a niece-in-law that has got a 21st birthday that just had that and is now coming into Nashville area for several days to go enjoy that. And so it's like it is a full several days. Wife's been around doing a bunch of stuff with her. We're gonna have do some things with them today. We're gonna do some things tomorrow. This is Saturday. We're gonna do fill our weekend. We're gonna have a big our basically monthly family gathering of everybody getting together, hanging out, eating food, stuff like that. So that's a good thing. Is it's just enjoying life. Bad thing is this goes back to like incremental and momentum and keeping up with stuff. As I looked the other day and I was like, I am due for an oil change, but I've got too much stuff going on. So I'm like, I have got to find time in with all this family stuff to go get an oil change. So, first world problems, maybe. But on the other side, somebody that does not have first word, gosh, I can't even speak today. Michael, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Malash. I'm one of the co-founders of Developerpreneur and founder of Envision QA, where we help companies unlock their software potential through a comprehensive software quality assurance review and test services. You can discover how all the areas of your software development teams, from sales to QA, can enhance customer satisfaction and improve software quality right from the initial conversation with your users. So don't neglect testing. Good and bad. Good thing this week, moving on with current customer, making some progress, completed another big milestone, and we're getting ready for the next phase of work. So that was a huge lift and ready to get the next part going. Bad, not too much bad. Only bad thing is daughter unfortunately got her flu and COVID shot at the same time and was out. So had to help her a little bit yesterday.
We, as I mentioned, are starting the new season, season 23, and this season is going to be our folks going to be building better habits. We are going to talk about, we talked about the developer journey last season and some of the things that you need to do along the way. We're going to get more actionable this season. We're going to talk about things in a way, we're going to have a topic. We're going to look at, maybe it's a skill set or a tool or something like that. And how do we build these into our life? How do we utilize these to become better developers? So we're going to talk about a lot of different skills, and we're probably going to touch on some areas, potentially touch on some areas I think that they're going to be new to you, where you're going to be like, yeah, I probably should know more about that. I should spend more time on it. As an example, because I think that's a great way to start the season as we're looking at what we've got ahead, I think I want to talk about security awareness, because this is something that actually can affect anybody. It's amazing how often that some of these phishing scams and things like that are successful, particularly when you get into social engineering stuff and how prevalent they are. It's like if you've got a little bit of an eye for it, looking for it, it's amazing how much that stuff is out there. So it's really easy to, you could trip and stumble, and next thing you know, it's like boom, you've had some sort of a hack or something like that. So, and particularly us, because we are technical people in general, I think a lot of us feel like, I got it figured out. I know how to see where that email address is coming from or something like that. So I know, but we can still have those moments. So I think one of the things, I think we'll use this as our example to start off. And instead of doing we're normally going to do a 7-day challenge, I think this is something because it's not a daily thing maybe as much, is put it on your calendar for say 7 months, or I would say for the next year, is go just right now, you can action item, put it on your calendar somewhere, pick a little bit of time, probably, I would say at least a half an hour, to just explore security awareness. And the way you can do this is go use your favorite search engine and look for security awareness tools or vendors. And most of them have some sort of free content available. Sometimes they've got stuff that's just, it's always available. They've got some evergreen stuff and things like that. A lot of them will run specials. They may have a little trial period or something like that. So you can check out a few things. And they do, for most part, they tend to update those regularly with some of the latest things and scams that are out there. I think that is a great thing to do for all of us on a regular basis. It's one of those, I've looked at these, I've gone back to security awareness vendors on multiple times over the years. We'll talk to a lot of customers about them. Have not implemented a plan yet at RB, but that is one of the things that I think is, that is definitely on my my roadmap of things to do. Is once we grow a little bit more, is we will probably have a security awareness program that we hit on a regular basis, because even as somebody that is I would say I'm not a security guy, but I am fairly aware of those things because I do go back to these on a regular basis. I hear a lot of horror stories from customers and even people I meet in the street. So I sort of keep up with it, but still, it seems like every time I go back through, one of those kinds of awareness programs, or I look at stuff, there's something new out there. And it's not something necessarily that's bit me. It's maybe something that's not even, on my radar or something like that, but it's the scope, the audacity, some of the things that are out there is amazing. And it is informative. If not for you, I think it's something so that you have that on your radar, so that when you're talking to family members and coworkers and things like that, is to just sort of like drop those little nuggets occasionally and say, hey, by the way, you may want to double check that because there's a scam going around that is that. And check, and you'll see it a lot on social sites, whether it's your Facebooks or one of those kinds of things, where you'll see people talking about, hey, is this a scam? And it's a great way to check on stuff, is like, hey, I got this, is this a scam? And if it's not, great, but you can get stuff that looks very scammy. I actually got something as an example before I throw it over to you, Mike. I want to get an example. Is I got a bill that was a tax bill that from the state that they hadn't sent me. They had sent me, but they'd sent it to an address that I hadn't lived at in like 20 years. And they had sent this like once a year for, I don't know, for 10 years. It was insane how long they'd done it. And they'd never reached out to me. They finally decided that after all these years, and that 10 years ago, or whenever it was when they did it, the place they were sending it to, I hadn't lived in 10 years before that. So I don't know why they even had that address. I don't know why they weren't sending stuff and then suddenly were, but they never reached out by phone. They never reached out by email until after a decade. And they said, oh, by the way, you've got like all of this stuff, all these like back filings that you need to do. And it wasn't a big deal. It was like, I don't know, $100 a filing or something like that. It wasn't huge, but there was a bunch of them. And the funny thing was, they didn't have the ability for me to even submit all of those. They were like, well, you got 10 of these and we're going to find it. I'm like, wait a minute. You never notified me. And we walked through all this stuff. The key to this, though, was I got an email out of the blue that was just like, hey, this is what we are. And so I was I researched the heck out of that thing. I was like, is this a scam? I finally went and looked. I looked at the phone number and it was like, oh, hey, this is a valid like phone number for a department that makes sense. I looked at the email address and I was like, okay, the email address that it says looks good. Everything seems like legit. So I actually sent them an email and said, hey, or maybe I left a voicemail. I can't remember which one, but I was like, hey, I think there's a scam going on that's related. They're using your information because I have no relation to any of this. And it looks like it's a scam. And ended up going back through stuff and talking to them and found out, oh no, it actually is legitimate. And I had to go through like 8 different channels because I didn't want to be, something where I say, hey, you're scamming me. And the scammer says, no, I'm not. This is legit. So it's one of those things where, you want to be aware. And sometimes you will overdo it like I did maybe, but it's better to overdo it than underdo it and get bit by it. So what are your thoughts on, actually, I guess let's first, because I've taken up all the oxygen in the room. I would like you to go ahead and like your thoughts on the season ahead, and then maybe your experiences and some thoughts on security awareness.
Yeah, so the building better habits, I think, is going to be a great task for us and our listeners to really better themselves. I liked your pivot that we start out with security, in part because really near and dear to my heart, a family member actually got scammed and lost a lot of money through a social engineering hack, so to speak. And it really, I guess the hokey movie that I could relate it to is if you watch the movie Beekeeper, that happened to my family member, something similar to that, where they got some spyware on their computer, their machine locked up, they basically ransomware, and they took over, and she called, and it just was bad. With the idea of reviewing your security profiles, what's out there, what kind of security hack scams are out there. The other thing I would kind of add in with your task or your challenge there, Rob, is to also review all of your online accounts. Make a list of all your user IDs, all your passwords, put those in something secure like KeePass, Password One, whatever. Add that to your list. Now, that's not something you want to do once a year. You probably want to do it every 60 days, 90 days, maybe go through and review and update your passwords. Also, be careful not to use the same password for multiple financial institutions. If you get hacked at one or they get hacked, they potentially could then get into all your other financial institutions and drain your accounts. You don't want that. The other task with that I would recommend is as you're doing this review, like Rob suggested, make sure you use your tools. Most browsers nowadays will tell you if you've saved your password, hey, your password has shown up on X and X hack, or your email has. Go change those passwords. Don't ignore those. Go out to those sites, legitimately go to those sites. Don't click emails. Don't go through website. Go to the email or go to the actual site. Like if it's Facebook, go to facebook.com. Don't click the link in the email. Go to the dedicated sites. You will find 9 out of 10 times email communication or text of some sort saying that your account has been compromised is probably social engineering or a hacker trying to get your information. When in doubt, go straight to the source, make your changes there, or contact the institution that's reaching out to you. Like Rob said, he went through and did the research. Anything governmental, they will not call you. They will send you a letter. Then go online or call your local government office and ask them who to talk to. Don't go through the communication. Go through them. And 9 out of 10 times, you'll find that it's either valid or it's a scam. But that's the quickest way to kind of rule out any third-party mediators. Go straight to the source. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. Go ahead. You look like you were on a roll. I did not want to get in the way of your momentum.
So the other thing too, and I've noticed this like you, Rob, more and more is, not just mail, email, but I've started getting more and more calls and texts from random sources, which is strange. Now, if you have an iPhone, you can actually block a lot of this. I think Android, Samsung's getting better at that. They've added some new security tools. Look at your devices. If you have like an iPad, an iPhone, Apple, there's so many security things you can turn on that are built into the device to protect you as a consumer. Turn those on. Yes, they may become an annoyance at the beginning, but once you realize the value, do it. Microsoft especially. There are so many viruses targeting PCs. Make sure that you are protected. Get those antivirus softwares. Get those spy blockers. Put those tools on your computers. That is a part of this security review that we're talking about. Make sure that you protect your machines and your data. You do not want to be one of those people that are victimized by a ransom hack or ransom attack where you can't get to your information and they're holding you hostage, especially if you're a big organization or building or company. What are your thoughts on that, Rob?
I agree. I think it's this is part of the habits. I do want to point out that this is typical of the professorial background that Michael has. Is that we say, here's your homework, and then he adds three other homeworks on top of it. And I may or may not be anti-academia. We will leave that as just let the jury decide that. Let the public decide. But those are all very key things. I think, in particular, and this is why we do this. This is why building better habits is one of the things we're going to talk about. And this is why I mentioned let's go ahead and start with security awareness and do this on a regular basis, because the things that Michael just listed out are the things that you're going to see probably in every single security awareness program. They're going to talk about things like password complexity. Don't use password or 123 or your dog's name or something super simple like that. Use complex stuff. There are tools to generate insane random passwords. Utilize those things. Utilize multi-factor authentication where you can. It's not the be all and end all, but boy, it will help a lot. And it is very easy to put that into almost anything that you're dealing with. Especially if you're building something, go ahead and utilize that. If you're tired of doing things and you're like, I've got too many things that I've got to connect to, then work on learn about single sign-on and some of those kinds of things. Those steps are all very useful steps to protect yourself and your data, your company, your family. There's a lot of these things that's just, it again goes to let's build better habits. Let's have these things on, in our mind on a regular enough basis that we can take some of these and we can build on those habits and say, oh yeah, I need to look into this regularly. For example, if I'm going to do a monthly security awareness catch up, part of that may be I'm going to go look back through and see, is there some passwords I need to change? Or there's some sites that I need to close down, or, to end my subscription. Am I getting too many stinking emails from somebody? Those kinds of things I think are going to be very valuable to you moving forward, which are why we want to do this, this whole season really, is to say there are these things that we way too often, I think we sort of feel it's a one and done, or maybe a one or two off, and you just sort of do it and it's like, okay, I'm done with it. I've learned that, or I can check it off my box. But there's a lot of these things that we actually do want to revisit on a regular basis, because things change, because we want to stay current with whatever that topic is. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and the other thing is you're working on building these habits, keep track of them. Go spin up a notepad or spin up a wiki and start keeping track of these things. Keep a journal, as we've mentioned in the past, as you build these habits. Write them down. Keep track of them as we go through the season. And the final thought on security awareness is also, if you're a business, look in your industry, because there might be some additional governmental security things you need to be aware of as well.
So I guess we've given you an action item. I want to give you a little bit of tools. I did talk about just go out and do a query on security awareness programs. So I'm going to give you two things here. One, this is even bonus material. Everybody gets this one. I've in the past, and I've recently, it's probably been a year or two, I think the last time I updated this, is I've done some research into the security awareness world for some of my customers. And I have been able to, as part of that and some of the conversations, it's probably going to be a little dated, but I was able to get things like pricing information and some comparisons, like what do they provide? What don't they provide? And when you get into this world, there is a lot of stuff that they may or may not provide, because some of them also have learning management systems as part of it and things like that, so that you can, as an organization, build your own content into this program. They've got some of them gamify it. Some of them have some sort of it's more of a checking off a list and making sure that you do regularly, review the material or watch the video or whatever it happens to be. Shoot us an email at info@developaneur.com and say, hey, I would like to see your, that security awareness program summary or overview. You can take it with a grain of salt, because it may or may not fit your organization, but I will be glad to put that together and send that out to you. A couple of names to just go with if it's too hard to search first. Some of the companies that stick out in the past is KnowBe4, KNOW, the BE, and then the number four. They do it, and they have a pretty they had a pretty good. They were like pretty good price wise. I think they tended to be on the lower cost, and had a pretty solid just security awareness program. Mimecast was one that had a lot of good features to it. It was one that I remember being I think it was actually a winner for the one customer that I was working with. And InfoSec is another one that they send stuff out on a regular basis. And I think the InfoSec, I'm pretty sure always does every year. There's a security awareness in October. And I think there's another month that they send out just sort of like a free, hey, we just want to make people more aware kind of packet. So you can get on their email list. KnowBe4, I think, does that as well. And I'm trying to remember, there was another one that disappeared, I think now. It was like, I don't see them as I'm looking at a search. It was like Security Ninja or something like that. I wish I could remember what that was. I'm going to do a quick check there. Ninja. What was it? It may Ninjio. There we go. Ninjio. And theirs was like just some really fun videos. It was really good stuff around security awareness. And it was a little more expensive, but I think they were the ones that they had. It was like, it felt like a Saturday Night Live skit was a lot of their security and stuff like that. Or I'm sorry, no, theirs are more, they're animated, but it's usually 3 or 4 minutes of a good little cartoon basically that walks you through some of those programs. So that's some bonus material for you. There's great places out there. So that's your homework as we come into this season. Is let's start off with go spend a little bit of time and get more aware on security awareness stuff. Is understand what's out there. Take a look at a couple of sites. Throw like a spam friendly email address where you're just like, hey, I just want to download some of their packets, because there's going to be some information there that's free. There are also, as you do the searches, you're going to find, I think there's a couple of sites that have free material they provide as well. So you may just want to dig into that. That being said, it is time for us to wrap this one up. Not the season. We just did that. This one, we're just wrapping up episode 1 of season 23, where we're going to be building better habits. So I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, since Michael threw this out, I don't know, months ago, it's like, hey, how about this? I've glommed onto it and said, I'm really looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be a really fun one, and it's going to be very useful for us. So as always, shoot me an email, info@developaneur.com. Check us out at developaneur.com and go ahead and fill out our contact us form. We're out on X. You can go at developaneur if you want to see sort of what's going on there. You can go catch us on wherever you get podcasts. You can subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you get YouTube, which is YouTube, you can go to YouTube/developaneur, and you can go check out the Developaneur channel where you can watch these things, and also all of our prior material and future stuff, because at some point we'll be getting back. We do occasionally put some like tutorials and things like that out there as well. That being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Talk to you next time around. So go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
So some technical bonus material for the developer side of things. We have covered Arcani. I think people complain I say it wrong. I have some videos out there for this software tool that you can put up that will analyze your software, find some bugs. InfoSec was a very good one that you mentioned earlier. And for those of you that deal with third-party dependencies, OWASP.org, O-W-A-S-P. I never say that right.
OWASP, W-A-S-P.
Is a great free tool that you can actually plug into a lot of your software development, and it will you can add it to your continuous integration. So as you do your builds, it'll analyze your dependencies, and if any dependencies have like a higher flag of vulnerability, you get flagged, and then you can go update your dependencies or figure out how to fix the problem.
I think I gave away enough of my bonus material, because this is that is a bonus. The little RFP kind of thing I did, it's a couple of pages. I talked through sort of the highs and lows, the pros and cons of several of the programs that are out there. There are some new ones that, there are a couple more that have popped up. But I think it's something that, and I actually go back. This is one of those things. I go back and review this material every so often because I do every so often say maybe I should go ahead and launch connect to one of these and implement a program in my organization. I've also thought, which is something I'll throw out. This is my bonus material I'll throw at you, is if this is something that appeals to you and you're doing some sort of side hustle or something like that, it may be that could be part of what you offer your customers. Is that you say, if you've got a program set up in a certain way, you could say, hey, one of the things that we do, because we want you guys to be more aware, this is something we're pushing, is that every customer gets maybe an email address that is a part of your security awareness program, depending on how these things are set up, things like that. Because it's a bonus there that you can, it's a little value add you can give. You can probably offset whatever that cost would be for that, that email or those couple of emails with the work that you're doing for them. And there's also, take a look, there are some of those security awareness programs that part of the deal is they bring in all their users. They also want to make sure that there's enough, there's bandwidth in there so that the users can actually share links to family members as well, so that you can, again, it goes back to making more people aware. So I think we'll go with that for the bonus material. I have no idea what we're going to step into next episode, but we will figure it out between now and then. And we will get right into the building better habits, because I think there's a lot of things that I think I have in the back of my head that we can offer. I think Michael's got some ideas as well. So between the two of us, we're going to be cranking on this for the next quarter or so or more, and we'll see how it goes. And granted, and I do want to go ahead and throw out there as, I guess, bonus material, is that we are coming up on the holiday season. It's beginning October right now, and we will because I got to use my turkey gobble for Thanksgiving, and I got to use my sleigh bells music for Christmas. As we will have the Thanksgiving week specials, and we also have Christmas week specials, and probably New Year's as well. So we'll sort of get pause the season a little bit for those, and then dive right back into them. So we'll be mixing up a little bit as we go into this season, and have a couple of those, those special episodes that we've done now for many, many years. That being said, I think we're good to wrap this one up. So we'll just catch you guys next time. Check back in here. We will be right back, as far as or 2 days from now, or 4 days now, whatever it falls into schedule. Some point, come back. We'll be into the next season. Go have yourself a good one.